This is Ms. Humbert here, and today we're going to be doing Unit 9, Notes 13. So we are going to be talking and reviewing through long division. So right now I just kind of want to take a look at what you did with long division in the past. Now this is something you did probably in elementary school or early middle school, and that's why we want to take some time to review it. So your divisor, or the thing that you're dividing by, needs to go on the outside. Then underneath your division symbol goes what's being divided, or the dividend. Okay, so we have 15. We want to figure out how many times 15 is going to fit into 3. Well, it's not. So since it's not going to fit in, we're going to start looking at 32. So I need to think how many times 15 can fit into 32. Well, it's 15 30, so it can fit into it twice. So then I'm going to take 15 times 2, which is 30. And then subtract that out. 32 minus 30 is 2. And bring down the 24. So then I'm asking myself, okay, how many times does 24 fit, or 15 fit into 24? And that's just once. So 15 times 1 is going to give me 15. And then I subtract those off, and I'm left with 9. And then I want to bring that 0. Notice I'm just bringing down one number at a time. And I want to figure out how many times 15 goes into 90. And that's going to be 4 times. 15 times 90 is, or 15 times 4 is 90. So I subtract, so I get a remainder of 0. So that just means that my answer is 214, or 214 when you divide those out, and it divides evenly. Next, let's go ahead and let's set up number 2. So we're putting 12 on the outside, and then underneath is 5,730. So I want to figure out how many times 5,730, how many times 12 goes into 5. Well, it's not, so I want to figure out how many times 12 goes into 57. Well, 12 goes into 57 4 times. So I'm going to take and I'm going to multiply 12 times 4, which is going to be 48. So then I'm going to subtract those out. 57 minus 48 is going to give me 9. So next I want to bring down the 3. So then I have 93. So I want to figure out how many times 12 can go into 93. And that's actually going to be 7 times. Let's say you don't know how I'm getting that number. Here's what I do, is I take 93 and I divide it by 12. Whatever the number is before the decimal is how many times 12 can go into that number wholly. We don't want to put the decimals. We want to figure out how many whole 12s go into that number. Well, 12 times 7 is going to give us 84. So then we're going to subtract that off, and I end up getting 9. So then I'm going to bring the 0 down. So 90 divided by 12, I get a crazy decimal, but I do get the whole number in front of it as 7. So 12 only goes into 90 7 times. So 12 times 7, again, is 84. Subtract that off, and you get 6. So now what you notice is there are no more numbers to bring down. So this is the start of our answer, is 477. This right here is our remainder. So what we do is we take our remainder and we write it over our divisor. If you want to reduce that fraction, you can, but just for simplicity's sake, as we're working through this, you can leave it if you so choose. All right, so let's take a look now at number 3. So for number 3, we have 9 on the outside, and then we have 8, 6, 4. So I want to figure out how many times 9 goes into 8. Well, that's going to be none. And then I need to figure out how many times 9 goes into 86. And that's going to be 9. So then we're going to do 9 times 9, which is 81. So then we have 86 divided by, or minus 81, sorry, and I end up getting 5. And then I'm going to bring on down that 4. So I need to figure out how many times 9 goes into 54. And 9 goes into 54 6 times. 9 times 6 is 54. So then you end up subtracting those out and you get 0. So 96 is our final answer for number 3. Now let's take a look at number 4. So for number 4, we're dividing by 6, so that goes on the outside, and then we have 528 underneath the radical. Well, we need to figure out how many times 6 goes into 5, and that's going to be 0. So then we need to start looking at 52. So how many times does 6 go into 52? Well, I know I can multiply to 48 with 6, and that's 6 times 8. So that's going to be 6 times 8, which is 48. Subtract those out. 52 minus 48 is 4. Bring down the 8, and then 6 actually does go into 48 because I can multiply, and there's 8 6s that go into 48. So 6 times 8 is 48. Subtract those out, and I get 0. So that's my final answer for number 4. Okay? Alrighty, next, let's take a look at number 5. So now we want to divide out number 5. So our divisor is 5, and we're dividing 370. And so I don't want you to just type this in your calculator and get with the answers. I want you to actually work through the long division because you will need it for the next part. So even if you can divide it in your calculator, I will not accept it if you don't show me this work. So 5 divides into 370. So how many times does 5 go into 37? Well, that's going to be 7 times. 5 times 7 is 35. Again, you don't know how many times 5 goes into 37? Divide 37 divided by 5 and get that whole number. 37 minus 35 is 2, and then we're going to bring down the 0. How many times does 5 go into 20? That's going to be 4. 5 times 4 is 20, and we're subtracting that off, and we get 0. So our final answer then is just 74 with no remainder. Now let's take a look at number 6. So for number 6, we're dividing 7 now. So 672 divided by 7. How many times does 7 go into 6? It doesn't. So now we need to look at 67. And how many times does 7 go into 67? Well, we could divide and get the whole number, and what you end up getting is 9. So 7 times 9 is 63. Subtract that off, and you end up with 4, and then you're going to bring down the 2. How many times does 7 go into 42? Well, that's going to be 6. 7 times 6 is 42. Subtract that off, and you get 0. So your final answer then is 96. Next, let's take a look at these ones. So this one actually isn't any different than stuff we've been doing. So what you're going to do when you do these problems is you're going to split it up into 3 fractions. So you're going to have 12a cubed divided by 6a minus. Seriously? Rude. So minus 3a squared divided by 6a plus 42a divided by 6a. And now all you have to do is reduce each fraction separately. So 12 divided by 6 is 2. And then you have a cubed divided by a to the first. Now remember we learned about that subtracting of exponents. So when you do a cubed divided by a to the first, subtract those out and you get a squared. Minus 3 divided by 6 is going to be 1/2. So I'm going to put 1 over 2. A squared divided by a is just a when you subtract off those exponents. And you don't actually need the 1 there since there ended up being something on top. You can put it, though, if you want to. And then 42 divided by 6 is going to give me 7. And a over a cancels out. So this right here is that division. Next, let's take a look at number 8. Again, splitting up those fractions. So I have 15x to the 4th divided by 5x. Negative 35x cubed divided by 5x. Plus 20x over 5x. Okay, so now what we want to do is divide that out. 15 divided by 5 is going to be 3. When I take x to the 4th and divide it by x to the 1st, I'm going to subtract those exponents, and that's going to give me 3. My large amount of exponents is on top, so then x to the 3rd is going to go on top. Negative 35 divided by 5 is 7. X cubed divided by x to the 1st is x squared. And then I have 20 divided by 5, and that's going to give me 4, and x over x cancels. So that right there is our final answer for number 8. Now let's take a look at number 9. So for number 9, what we want to do is split that up. So I have 4c cubed divided by c plus 2c squared divided by c minus 8c divided by c. So 4c cubed divided by c to the 1st. We're going to simplify out c cubed divided by c to the 1st. So that's going to give us 4c squared. Then I have 2 on top. C squared divided by c to the 1st is just c. And negative 8c over c cancels out, and you're just left with 8. So this right here is your final answer. Taking a look at number 10, you have 16r to the 4th minus 4r cubed plus 2r squared. So again, I'm going to split that up. So I have 16r to the 4th divided by r squared minus 4r to the 3rd divided by r squared plus 2r squared divided by r squared. And then we're just going to look at each fraction separately. 16 is going to stay there. R to the 4th divided by r squared. You subtract those exponents, and 4 minus 2 is 2, and your r squared is going to go on top. Then you have negative 4 up top, r cubed divided by r squared. You're just left with r. And then the last one, r squared over r squared cancels out, and you're just left with 2. So that's your final answer for number 10. Last but not least, taking a look at number 11 and number 12. Let's take a look first at number 11. So I have 9z to the 7th, and I'm going to divide that by 3z to the 4th, minus 27z to the 6th divided by 3z to the 4th, minus 30z to the 5th divided by 3z to the 4th. So now I can go ahead and divide that out. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Z to the 7th divided by z to the 4th is z cubed. Negative 27 divided by 3 is negative 9. Z to the 6th divided by z to the 4th is z squared. Negative 30 divided by 3 is negative 10. Z to the 5th divided by z to the 4th is just z. So I'm going through this pretty quickly because it's just using rules of exponents. So if you don't remember how to do this, please be sure to stop and see me once the video is done. So 4x to the 6th divided by 2x cubed. Again, just splitting that up. Negative 2x to the 5th divided by 2x cubed plus 6x to the 4th divided by 2x cubed. So now we're going to simplify that out. 4 divided by 2 is 2. X to the 6th divided by x cubed. Subtract those exponents and you get x to the 3rd. Negative 2 over 2 cancels. X to the 5th divided by x to the 3rd is x squared. 6 divided by 2 is 3. X to the 4th divided by x to the 3rd is x to the 1st. So that is your final answer. And that concludes your note video for today. Go ahead and show me your completed note sheet once you are done. Thanks for listening.